Hi, I'm Erica.
And I'm Komal. We're from Google Developers, and here to tell you about Developer Student Clubs.
Developer Student Clubs train thousands of student developers globally and work with their communities to solve real-life problems.
I'm sure you're curious how it works. Google selects amazing students from across the globe once a year to be a Developer Student Club lead and start a club on their campus.
These clubs host workshops to help students learn about Google technologies.
And they work with local businesses, startup, NGOs, even their universities to build real solutions for real problems.
These leads believe knowledge is power and that technology can do extraordinary things for the world.
They take on the responsibility to help students learn and empower these students to solve real problems around them.
Through this experience, they not only bridge the gap between theory and practice for students, but leave a legacy of impact.
Join us in building a global community for students.
I originally belonged to a town in Pakistan called Hyderabad. While I was growing up, I used to see people working on these magical boxes called computers. I used to get fascinated by it a lot because you could actually use it for talking to people around the world or play games. But while I was growing up, I used to see a lot of men using computers. So I wondered if technology is for men only. My dad encouraged me to pursue computer science so I could learn about the world of technology. Computer science in Pakistan is a field predominantly with men. So I wasn't surprised to find out that I was one of the only 2 girls in my entire class. And despite getting good grades and being very active in academic activities, it was difficult for me to find that confidence to lead. Suddenly one day I found out about this program by Google called the Developer Student Clubs and mustered the courage to apply as a lead for my university. I simply couldn't believe the day I received the acceptance email. Being selected as a DSC lead not only connected me with several Googlers or industry experts, but also helped me build connections with students globally. The most memorable experience was connecting with the DSC leads from across Pakistan and getting a deep dive into Google technologies through a lens of a community builder. DSC had me think about all the incredible people, personally and professionally, I wouldn't have met, and friendships I wouldn't have had if it wasn't for the community. I learned the art of interacting with people, pitching my ideas at hackathons, working with stakeholders, and also problem solving, which not only helped me win 2 national hackathons, but also the DSC signature competition, the Global Solutions Challenge. I believe DSC is just a start. It helped me connect with myself in ways I could have never imagined. I hope that young girls everywhere can step up to create their own opportunities in the position of leadership. And that's the cultural shift I want to bring in Pakistan. Because saying yes is the best thing you can do for yourself.
Saya dilahirkan di Bojonegoro. Ibu saya mendidik saya boleh bermain, tapi bermainnya itu nggak boleh jauh-jauh. Terus saya melihat kakak saya kebanjiran, yang paling parah itu tahun 2007, di mana rumahnya itu sangat tenggelam, banyak korban jiwa yang ditimbulkan, dan kakak saya itu kehilangan.
Kemarin ya lumayan, kemarin. Ya.
Kalau airnya semakin tinggi kan, nggak bisa lalu lintas kendaraan kan nggak bisa lewat, kita biasanya pakai perahu. Palingnya kalau udah agak parah lagi kita ngungsi.
Warga juga pasti resah, kalau enggak sebelumnya belum diberitahu kan resah. Kalau sudah diberitahu kan nanti ada persiapan.
Saya ketika kuliah di PENS ini, saya pertama kali tahu DSC itu dari Dana. Seharusnya kita bisa menghindari hal buruk terjadi ketika kita mengetahui apa yang akan terjadi. Dana membantu saya sekali dalam hal tersebut bersama tim untuk membuat aplikasi L-Float.
Alatnya itu bersifat kayak misal di sini bakalan ada banjir dari pemerintah bakalan langsung tidak berdasarkan yang sebelumnya berdasarkan data kami itu berdasarkan dari WhatsApp. Nanti setelah itu penduduk bisa ke posko terdekat. Di sini ada lokasi poskonya. Terus kita bisa kayak ngeset arahnya belok kiri maupun belok kanan gitu ada. Karena kita memanfaatkan teknologi arahan juga dari Google. Oke, sudah selesai?
Oke, selesai.
Oke.
Kemudian kita mencoba ke sana, kita menunjukkan ke warga Bojonegoro.
Kalau sekarang kalau ada aplikasi ini kan bisa langsung masuk ke HP-nya masing-masing. Jadi semua warga langsung otomatis langsung tahu.
Di sini kita milih Balai Desa
Mulia Agung,
Petunjuk Arah.
Ya.
Di sini kita bisa lihat di posko ini ada berapa banyak orang.
Membantu banget berarti ya, sangat amat membantu.
Iya. Ini rencana emang akan kami rilis ke Bojonegoro.
Oh gitu ya.
This is the power of DSC students all over the world. We can learn and teaching together and also to solve local problems.
Dengan adanya aplikasi L-Float ini, saya merasa sangat senang sekali saya bisa membantu warga masyarakat Bojonegoro, terutama untuk kakak saya.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica Hansen, and in this video, I will give you an overview of the steps and timeline for the Google Developer Student Club's 2021 Solution Challenge. The Solution Challenge is an annual contest that invites students to develop solutions utilizing one or more Google technologies. This year's mission is for students to solve for one or more of the United Nations' 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Check out the next video in this series to learn more on these 17 goals and how to brainstorm ideas to help achieve them. For now, let's take a look at the complete timeline of the Google Developer Student Club's 2021 Solution Challenge. The steps can be grouped into 4 phases: register, learn and build, deep mentorship, and demo day. At this phase, you'll join a Google Developer Student Club virtually at your college or university. If there is no club at your university, you can find the nearest one to you by checking our online directory. If you are joining a club outside your university, make sure to team up with at least one student from that university in order to be eligible to participate in the Solution Challenge. Once you are a Google Developer Student Club member, it's time to register your interest at goo.gle/Solution Challenge by submitting the form. Now you can form a team with up to 4 students from your club. Ideally, your team members will have a varied set of technical and soft skills, so you complement each other's strengths. The next phase is where you'll select one or more of the UN 17 Sustainable Goals to solve for. And now it's time to start defining and building your solution. We've created a series of videos to guide you through this process. They offer references to many technical resources available to you, so be sure to check them out. And remember, while you design and build your solution, you can always get guidance and assistance by posting a question on the mentorship platform Partheon, where Google developer experts can help you overcome the obstacles you face along the way. Once you have built your solution, gone through user feedback, and reiterated your code, it's time to record a demo video. The video should be 2 minutes or shorter and showcase your solution in a clear and exciting way. Both your solution and the demo video should be submitted by March 31st through the Solution Challenge website. At this stage, the Solution Challenge team of judges will review and rank all the submissions from around the world. You can check the judging criteria on the Solution Challenge website. The top 50 solutions will be announced and invited to join the deep mentoring phase. This phase is designed to fine-tune and improve the top 50 solutions. These top teams will receive mentoring from Google and Google developer experts. Once completed, these top 50 teams will resubmit their improved solutions and their improved demos to compete for a spot as one of the 10 finalists. These top 10 teams will win an array of prizes, among which are a 1-year subscription to Pluralsight, swag, and additional customized mentoring from Google and Google developer experts. The top 10 teams will also be invited to present their solution to Google and developers all over the world, live on YouTube during the 2021 Solution Challenge Demo Day. During Demo Day, the judges will watch the top 10 demos and interview the finalists. The final 3 winning teams will be announced live during the event, winning all the prizes included in the top 10 category, along with a Chromebook and a private meeting with a Google executive. The Google Developer Student Club Solution Challenge is a great opportunity to learn the latest Google technologies and kickstart your career by learning through doing. You'll be collaborating with Googlers and Google developer experts on your way to building a great solution. In the next video, we will explore the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals and show you some ways to research and brainstorm solutions aligned with these goals. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see what you build.
All right. Hi, everyone, and thank you for tuning in on our event finale of Skills Level Up, focus on leading the next generation session. And we have amazing sets of speaker for today that we are really, really excited to bring in and, kickstart our final event of this event series. And of course, a little bit background of Skills Level Up. It's a series of session and events hosting and focusing on the career success to create, to allow you to hear and see from different industry experts as well as Googlers about the things that they have done, throughout their career journeys, and of course, getting a little bit of a heads up on, the experiences of others, so you can also apply them on your, future endeavors as well. And of course, today, we'll kickstart our session with a little bit of an introduction. I'm, calling in Joshin from Developer Space, who is hosting our, our amazing, we're using their amazing virtual platform to host our Skills Level Up event. Joshin?
Hello. Hi, Shad. And
Hello.
hi, everyone. Yeah, thanks for joining us on a Saturday. And from all over Southeast Asia, we hope you're having a great day so far. And I'm Jia from the Google Developer Relations team. So welcome again to our virtual developer space. And for those of you who are not familiar, let me just briefly introduce what Google Developer Space is about. So as you can see from the pictures, we actually have a physical office in Singapore, but due to COVID, we actually moved everything online. And that's how we started this YouTube channel, which you are probably watching this video from. So we regularly host events with the developer and startup communities from around the region. So, and you can also view the previous Skills Level Up events that took place on our YouTube channel as well. Yep, and we are really looking forward to today's sessions. Actually all of the speakers, they are actively involved in the community, be it organizing GDG events or being speakers and sharing their knowledge and insights with us. So I'm sure all of us will have many great takeaways. So do keep in touch with our with Google Developer Space via our website and our social media channels. So we are on Facebook, Twitter, and also click the subscribe button if you are tuning in from YouTube. And with that, I'll hand the stage over back to Shad to share more about today.
Awesome. Thank you, Joshin. All right. That's, again, just a little bit of recap. Please follow and subscribe. You can surely find the subscribe button at the, somewhere there below. and to support this channel, to hear and more on the upcoming events of the virtual developer space that we have. And of course, I won't be the host for today. We have a very special host and moderator, all the way, of course, from Singapore as well, who will be sharing more about, bringing all these amazing speakers that we shared, through email, and the posters that we shared. That amazing list will be moderated by our community lead from Singapore, who is Julius Uy. He's also a VP of Engineering at Hubble, which is a startup. For sure, he will surely share more about the company as well. It's a construction tech company, and one of the most interesting part, Hubble is their software, their technology has been used by some of the amazing construction buildings that you can find in Singapore already. And prior to Hubble, he helped led the team in Rakuten, focus on the mobile apps and TV engineering teams, and of course, Rakuten Wiki and their work were featured in Google I/O, Android Developer Story, and Android Excellence. And on the side, he mentors various engineering leaders in Silicon Valley, India, Hong Kong, and Singapore. And of course, he's also a personal friend. Let's welcome Julius Uy.
Hey, hello.
Hello.
So good to see you.
Hello, bro. Yeah, it's so nice. Thank you so much for hosting and of course accepting our invitation to be today's moderator with our amazing list of panelists.
Okay, let's see. I'll try my best. Cool.
Surely. All right, I'll give the stage to you to introduce our program and our talks for today.
Super cool. Thank you, Shad. So, hey everyone. So for today, we're gonna be inviting a few guests, as you might have seen already from the posters, the announcements. We'll be talking to quite a few Google developer experts in this region. So we're hoping to kind of learn from them. Please, if you have any questions, please do put it in the live chat. We'll try to pick as many of them as possible. Don't be shy. If you have a question, that's probably the question the next person also has in mind. So please drop them in. Meanwhile, while we're waiting for your questions, let's kind of bring them in one by one. So please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your company, what you do, and how did you become a Google developer expert. So let's start off in alphabetical order. We have Andrew first.
Hi, Julius.
Good to see you.
Good. Yeah, it's good to see you too. Good to see you, everyone. I guess, even though it needs to be in a virtual environment, right? But it's good to be able to talk again.
Yep. Andrew, do you want to share a little bit about yourself, your company? How did you become a GDE?
Okay. So my name is Andrew. I'm from Indonesia. So I started a company called Lumio.id, and it's a startup based in Jakarta, where we do a lot of things related to IoT and digital signage, I guess. So we try to make advertising a little bit smarter, not just on the internet, right? Like on the internet, probably Google has done that, but we try to do it offline too. So that's what we did. And so how I become a GDE? I guess it's I didn't know the exact story behind why I got invited, but at that time I was doing I was working at a software house company, and I did a side project called, I think, Mata Mata. It's like an app to find schedules for movies, and suddenly I got invitations to go to, I think, Google for Indonesia event in 2015, about that time. And after that, suddenly Erica, I think, invited me and asked me to fill in this form. Do you want to become a GDE? And I don't know. And then then I got in. I guess I got into the first interview, and I always wanted to share, but I guess because I just moved from the States at that time, so I didn't have a channel to share, I guess, at that time. but because of this opportunity, I just, wow, this is it. This is the way I can reach more people. So I agreed to become a GDE at the time, and it's been a long journey, but a fun journey too, because I've been traveling along all around the world, and also be able to share to a lot of people. Yep.
Super cool. Thank you so much, Andrew, for the background. Yeah, awesome. All right. Okay, for the next person, let's bring in Galu, also from Indonesia. Hello, Galu.
Hi, Julius. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, so would you like to share a little bit about yourself, your company, and your GD journey?
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Galu. I am currently working as a data scientist at Gojek, where I build various data and machine learning systems. So I graduated in 2018. After that, I worked at one of the startup companies in Indonesia. Then I worked as a data engineer first at Gojek before transitioning into a data science role. I'm also a GD in machine learning since February last year. So before being a GD, I already started to speak at some events and write blogs. But basically, I did these things to share what I've just learned with others. And then one of the people from Google approached me because of my past community activities and encouraged me to apply. So after going through a series of interviews, I was selected as a GDE. So yeah.
All right, super cool. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think hopefully along the next 1.5 hours, I think I have a lot of questions actually for you, and hopefully the the rest as well. Thank you so much, Galu, for sharing. And let's bring in Joshua all the way from Philippines. Hello, Joshua.
Okay. Hey, Julius. Hey, guys. It's good. Great. It's good to see you here. Right.
Good to see you too. Would you like to share a bit about yourself, your company, what you do, and your GD experience?
Okay. I'm Joshua. I'm currently working as a lead engineer at Better Financial. It's a banking startup. It's a fintech startup based in Brooklyn, New York, where we provide accessible insurance for everyday Americans for them to be able to fight the unexpected medical debt. Previously, I worked at Freelancer. It's one of the largest freelancing platforms globally, where I work as a core mobile engineer. The platform has over 40 million users, and basically the things that I've learned from a corporate startup, from a public company, I brought it to all the things I learned to a startup company, where I'm at. So in a company that I'm at today, we're partnering with some of the largest companies in the space as well, like Plaid, Galileo Fintech Technologies, AIG for insurance, and basically open banking APIs from Unit. These is some of the startups that are backed by like Google and Microsoft. And at least for my GDA journey, I remember I started from the very bottom. I was just joining events, workshops, because they're free. And eventually when I moved to Manila, it's even better. There are foods, a lot of freebies. So I even I got more excited attending the events. And eventually one of the events that I attended was where Shad was a speaker for Google I/O Extended back in BGC office. And from there I started, I was in part and started giving back to the community by writing. My website now reached over 20K reads and 150K views. Eventually, I also started mentoring younger students, building open source projects. And fast forward to Google I/O 2019, I was invited to give a talk. I think this was actually, just after I gave a talk at freelancer.com, and this is where I met Ken. He nominated me for the program, and for the next few months I prepared for it. I continuously write content, and we're blessed that we got selected after a series of interviews with a Googler and a fellow at GDE. Yeah.
Wow, super cool. Nice. Thank you, Josh. And hello, Vin. Good to see you.
Hey everyone. Hi Julius. Joshua, you're looking good today.
Oh, just bala.
Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to be introducing myself, right? Okay. All right. Let me just redo it again. Hi, everyone. I'm Vin from Malaysia. So basically, I'm the founder and the CEO of Green Room. Basically, we are a digital product studio where we build products, web and mobile applications, or customized software for our clients like Honda Malaysia, Dell Malaysia, Ernst & Young, and the likes. So I started the business back in 2013. That was like almost 8-9 years ago. As a matter of fact, we did not start up as a product studio. We started up as startups. So what we intended to do back then was that we tried to use technologies to help solve the most important question of all humankind. It's called what to eat today. So yeah, what we are trying to do is that we try to use technologies to automatically gather in places around us, and also the trend signals around us, and processing them and give us recommendation on good food and places around you. But well, as it's all startups, it didn't work out well for us. What we did is that we still have to go on and pay for our staff. So what we did was what we do best: we build products, right? So we start to take on projects, and somehow it became a full-fledged product house today. Fortunate or unfortunate, I'm not sure, but it is what it is. So in the early years of my ventures, the startup and tech scene in where I come from is pretty much in its infancy. So we don't have a lot of peer support in our region and all that. So that also let me be together with my peers, actually started up GDG, Google Developers Group, Georgetown. And from there, I've been managing the chapter for about 4 years and organized 3 or 4 dev fests and countless events and so on. Of course, together with the support of Google. After which I've actually passed on the roles to my colleagues, because I really felt that it's a tremendous platform for me to grow in, and I thought this opportunity should also be passed on to other people as well, to the younger people especially. Now, after I passed on, I was approached by one of the Google, or actually a few of the Google, to share me on the opportunity of sharing my experience with larger audience in the region, in Southeast Asia particularly, through the GTE programs. So they invited me on board, and then after going through a couple of interviews, well, here I am. The rest is history.
Nice, super cool. Thank you, Vin, for a brief background on your experience. All right, cool. Oh, by the way, if you all have any questions, once again, you can throw it in to the live chat. We have a question. Hey everyone, how are you? I think we are fine. Thank you. Please add more questions afterwards. Also, we are in Asia, so whenever we have fireside chat, people actually don't speak, so which becomes very awkward for the moderator. So let's see how it goes. Let's start off with something quite basic. I guess many of us, right? We always have this question. Engineering fundamentals, right? Like many of the things that we learn from school, once we go to work, we start to realize, okay, there's actually more than what we have learned from school. So let's talk about engineering fundamentals. What should people start thinking about once they go into the industry? See, no one's speaking, right? So should be the most good-looking or self-professing good-looking, the first one to speak. Wow, people are so humble. Come on. Is this the part I should call names? Like, who I think is the most good looking? Okay, let's go with the youngest. Come on. Josh.
Yeah, I think Josh should really take the questions.
He's the most good looking.
No, I was just nodding. But yeah, I think in terms of engineering fundamentals, I think initially like data structure and algorithms is important. Basically, like if you take into account the companies that you want to work for, like for example, big companies like Grab, Google, like they're actually asking for this type of questions. So, and at the same time, like having the fundamentals on DSA, like it gives you, like it helps you improve your other skills, other areas, like you can improve, like for example, problem solving, like the communication, for you to be able to, like talk to your interviewer, how you would, what is your approach in terms of like solving a problem. So I think, like problem solving, communication, and DSA, like they all play a part in terms of like if you really want to work for like those companies after graduation or fresh grad. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Data structures, algorithms. That's what Google folks are looking for in interviews. Cool. Anyone else wants to chime in? So maybe I should ask Andrew also, because he's the CEO, right, of a company. So yeah, we need to make sure that good engineers go in. Yeah, like how do you judge?
Yeah, I think also, I mean, like problem solving skill is the most important thing because in engineering, right, it's all about problems solving. It's all solving problems. The day-to-day works that we do is trying to solve a problem, and yeah, it's really important to have that. And also, I guess, just like Joshua said, that communications, right, with the team, like how you act inside the team, because you cannot do everything by yourself, right? And you need to work in a team settings, and I think it's also really important to have that skill, like communication skill, like clearly telling what's in your mind to other people. I think it's important.
Cool. Thank you. Wow, the answers are so googly. Like these are the things that Google folks are looking for. Yeah, there's a general cognitive ability that Google folks are actually looking at, and this is exactly what it is. Thank you. Okay, so next question, another question that haunts us, that will, I guess, will haunt us as well for the next 30, 40 years of our lives, is that tech changes really fast. Flutter didn't exist before. Now it's all over the place. So I guess, like, to ask our GDEs, how can we stay up to date?
Yeah, I think I can start with my side on to take the questions. I think one of the best options for our team to actually keep up with the technology is really to subscribe to mailing lists of particular technologies that we are in use basically. So for example, one of the technology that we use widely in our team is Relevant, basically a web applications framework. So what we do is that we actually subscribe to Relevant News, which actually send out emails to us on every Sunday night, which covers news thing in the framework and the ecosystems around it and all that. So from there, it actually gives you a pointer to find out relevant technologies to the framework itself. And I felt this is something that is really helpful to our team, because you can't possibly be going around googling for stuff proactively. It's a bit effort intensive. Of course, the next big answer will have to be subscribe to Google Developers Space Singapore, the YouTube channel.
Awesome, makes sense. Thank you, Vin.
And also join local GDGs.
Right, definitely.
Totally. Galit, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, so from my side, personally, I use social media, like for example, Twitter, to keep up with all that is happening in the machine learning world. So I follow a lot of people who are also working on the same field as well. And I actually have like this document where I keep track of all the blog posts and like the papers that I want to read. So usually, like when I come across an interesting link or an interesting paper, I would put it there and mark it as to read. But you can probably guess that there are actually a lot of maybe like over 20 to read articles that I have right now. But yeah, and actually what also helps is, at least at where I work, like we sometimes have like these sharing sessions where we share about what's the latest update, what's happening in the field as well. That doesn't have to do with what we are working on directly. So that really helps to keep us updated. And oftentimes usually we will go back to what we have shared previously and look at and say, oh, we can actually like use this for like our next project or something like that. So that's also very, very helpful.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. That seems to be quite helpful. I actually do it myself as well. Thank you. Apart from following dev space, yes, that kind of makes a lot of sense. Thank you. All right, let's dive a little bit deeper into specific technologies. So yeah, I guess wanted to ask our mobile engineers and bosses here. What do you think is the next 3 to 5 years? What does the mobile development landscape look like?
I want to go first. I think Josh. He's smiling.
No, okay, I'll just go first. Like, at least how we see it, more and more companies are going to use cross-platform solutions, like, for example, Kotlin multi-platform, Flutter, and other technologies like React. If you try to think of it from a business perspective, like you are looking for ways, to save in terms of like the engineering cost, the product development, and these kind of solutions, Kotlin multi-platform, Flutter, are the things that businesses will probably have to use, at least in the next 3 to 5 years. And in terms of like the general, things that are going to happen in mobile, I think the integrations will be a lot seamless, especially for AI. Like we have devices that are already, already have chipset that supports machine learning and AI. Also for VR and AR, I think it will be seamless as well in a way that it will be accessible in terms of like the price range. People will just have to pay a penny before, like you have to pay a lot in terms of like just getting a phone that supports AR technology. And yeah, like I think last thing that I probably want to see, at least in the next 3 to 5 years, is dynamic UIs for mobile apps. So currently, like what we do is every time we try to change something, like for the UI, we have to release a new build. So as a mobile developer, like like you can do simply change something and it has to be deployed right away. So I think dynamic UIs, backend driven or server side driven UIs will be a thing for mobile. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually like to just add on a little bit on the mobile development side. I felt compelled to add on from a web technology GD perspective. So when we talk about mobile development, we understand from the native perspective in the sense that you build native mobile applications, but there are really a lot of use cases where you does not require a full-on native mobile application, to install it in your mobile devices. So this is where PWA, Progressive actually comes in very handy, especially with more and more low-level web API is accessible to the clients now. It really makes a lot of sense for you to use, like Joshua mentioned about VR, AR. WebXR technology is getting mature over the years. Once it became the standards in the web, it's also something that can be achieved in the web directly without having to ask the users to install application every time you ask them to perform a simple task itself. So I just want to emphasize that a lot of times there are really a lot of options available now. So you don't really have to go all into the native mobile applications, where web also provide sufficient mobile developments in the coming years.
Yep. I agree with Ben. I used to defend native application a lot before, but yeah, I think in the near future, there's room for both, right? Like natives and PWA, because it depends on the usage, and you don't want people to just to do something simple, but they need to install apps first, right? They just need to open a link and then boom, and they can interact with the app. Also, I think in 3 to 5 years, I think there will be more and more integrations with IoTs. Because now, a lot of apps, like, right, all the ITs need to be integrated with an app somehow in mobile apps to control it. I think that will be room too. And 5G, I think 5G is starting to appear, I think, in some countries, but in 3 to 5 years, probably 5Gs will enable us to do more things, right? Mobile, in a mobile way. So I think it will open a lot of opportunities in the future.
Yeah, that's super cool. Thank you. Can I ask also as a follow-up question, right? We mentioned various technologies that we can use, to develop on mobile. So let's say, for example, it's my first time to actually go into the industry. I have a lot of options for myself. Now I wanted to see, should I start learning Angular, React? Should I learn Dart for Flutter? Should I learn Kotlin? Do you have any advice? Like, what should I?
You're putting us in a very difficult situation.
Yeah, don't start a war, Julius. I think yeah.
It's Google Technologies.
Yeah, anyone want to take that?
Okay, I'll go first then. I think, yeah, I mean, like, I think it all comes down with, like your goal, really. Like, for example, if you're just starting out in the industry, do you want to work for a startup, or do you want to work for a big company? So, for the company that you're planning to work for, you'll probably just have to search like what tech stack are they using. Like, but I think any of these like PWAs, mobile, it all comes down to a matter of preference and the time and investment that you want to put into in terms of like learning these technologies. Because I mean, learning all of these technologies can be a good thing as well. Like, you can use it as part of your tools. So for example, if you're thrown off to thrown at a different team in the company, then you can just simply contribute as well to that specific to the different teams that you'll be joining. So I think, yeah, it all comes down to a matter of preference and your goal, whether to work for a company that is using mainly this technology or not. Yeah. Oops.
Okay. Let's keep the piece there. Unless Vin or Andrew wants to chime in, or okay, cool. Thank you so much for being very diplomatic. um, Actually, Josh mentioned something quite interesting also, which I think Galuk has a lot of insights as well. So Josh mentioned about, it really depends whether you want to join a small company, a big company. Then the type of technology that you are going to learn will be quite different. Galu, of course, works with one of the biggest companies in Singapore. It's in Singapore, I guess Singapore and Indonesia. So Galu, would you like to share a little bit more about the advantages of working in a big company, small company?
Yeah, so in my case, I started with a startup, right? And then later moved to, well, not a corporate, but yeah, a bigger company in terms of size and products. So in startup, I feel like I learned a lot in quite a short time because I had to wear a lot of hats, which, like, I think it depends on like your preference. But personally, I really liked it because it means that I got to learn a lot of things, and I happen to have a lot of autonomy in terms of like what I want to do and learn. And my work had an impact, although I just graduated. So I feel like I got what I wanted there. Moving to a bigger company, the dynamics is very different because in a small company, the stakeholders like are, in terms of number, it's just like the people that I already know. But in a bigger company, like the stakeholders of my projects can be like teams that I have never met or teams that I've never worked with, and it's very very different. So I think I have a lot of things to learn as well in a bigger company, but it's more like how to manage stakeholders, how to like handle people, stuff like that I didn't really learn at a startup. So yeah, I think that's my experience. But I think nowadays it's not always like startups versus big companies, right? Because like from my observation, it really depends on the dynamics of the team. And how the company is structured. Like, I think it's possible you have a team that is very startup-like inside of like a big company, and perhaps vice versa. So, yeah, I think it can be different, and it's not just about like startups versus big companies. It can be different depending on the team as well, I'd say.
That's a very good point. So can I ask a follow-up as well, right? So if now if people don't have to really think about a big company versus a startup, are there any factors or like things that people should think about before they enter a company? Is it the managers, the colleagues, the projects that they work with? Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I personally think that it's really important to know about your manager, because I feel like that's also like one of the biggest contributors to my growth. Because like a manager is gonna be someone who believes in you and sort of like decides what you're gonna work at. And personally, I find it very important to have a manager that also cares about like my personal growth. And I think that's really contributed to a lot to my journey so far. So I think that's my advice, to get to know your future manager, as well as your colleagues, the culture there. Those are like very important things to know as well before deciding to join like which team or like which company.
Thanks, Galu. Anyone else want to chime in?
Just have to add a few, like, I agree with Galo, and also like on top of like, like for what I think staying intentional on what you want to happen, in terms of like part of your growth, I think also helps a lot, whether you're in a startup company or a big company. Like staying intentional on what you want to do in your career, like I think it also plays a part. So for example, even if you are on a company that has the worst culture, like hopefully you guys are not there, but if you're a company, if you're in a company that has the worst culture, like you can still play a role there, or deliver an impact, whether that kind of thing is happening. So I think staying intentional and as an individual contributor, eventually leading teams, I think that plays a big part. Yeah.
That's a really good point. Stay intentional. Yeah, I wasn't sure if Andrew was going to
Yeah.
speak.
So my first job is at Philips Healthcare. So it's a multinational company, right? And it's a big company, and it's in a sense it's more comfortable, I guess, when you got into into a big company, right? Because everything is already there. A bigger company usually has the SOP already set up for you. Everything you just got in and got a guidebook, and then follow everything, and then you're fine, right? You will do fine. But I think working in a startup, I don't know. I think sometimes it seems like outwardly it's sometimes you feel like, okay, this is hard, right? Because especially if you start, I mean, it depends also on when you join that startup, right? Is it at the beginning or probably after a year or two? Probably will be a different experience too. But I think the biggest thing that you will see is that you will learn more things, just like what Dalu said too, right? Like you will touch more things, because if you're in a big company, usually you already have a set job desk, right? And usually you already have enough jobs for you to do. But in a startup, usually you will help a lot of people. I guess probably other people, and you will probably learn even managing other people too, right? Even though it's still small, but it's an opportunity for you to learn a lot of things in a startup environment.
Yeah, I agree. I just also want to share that I agree that in bigger companies or corporations, your scope of work are typically clearly defined, so you can be very focused on doing what you do. So you can pretty much master what you do pretty well, and with good support system like your salary and other benefits, it really takes a lot of the worry away. Being a small in a small company like our team, our team members tends to do a lot of jobs. One of my senior developers at times have to be project managers or meeting clients. So I mean, you're actually wearing like Galu say, wearing a lot of different hats. But to me, I felt this setting actually presents a lot of opportunity for team members to learn a lot more than the scope of the work they do day in, day out. Of course, it's definitely more stressful, but it can be quite rewarding itself. Not only in area of growth, but potentially financially as well, if you are actually growing together with the company. So I thought the takeaway is that you should probably want to try both and measure your preference and the net output from the gain you're getting from it, from the environment, and then you'll find what you like there.
That makes sense. Thank you so much, Vin. Okay, we have a question also from the audience. This one comes from Harvey. Hello, Harvey. So his question is, yeah, he wanted to get your thoughts on, whether you should be a technical person first, or just go straight to management. Do you have any thoughts?
Andrew? Oh, sorry.
I think in the IT world, right? Like I think it's good to have to start with the technical role first. I think so that when you start managing other people in a management role, it will help you to have that experience, like having a hands-on technical role first before starting to go to a management role.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Any counter proposals?
Yeah, or
I mean that really depends. If you set out to be in the managerial when you were studying out, you already know clearly that's where you wanted to be. I guess there's no harm in doing that, but in the managerial, in the technical teams, at some point you still need to have some level of foundations, technical foundations to manage the team. So if you felt you're up for it, I felt starting young in a managerial internship or even a managerial executive role and growing up from there, it's really it's fine as well, because I see there's a huge differences in skill sets required, particularly when it comes to managerial. A lot of your time is about working with people, and trust me, it's a lot harder than working with codes.
Yeah.
So yeah, really a lot of different skill sets in there. So if you already set out to be from young, that's where you want to be. I guess no harm starting from managerial directly.
Cool. Thank you, our two CEOs. Okay, we have another question. This is from Tuan. Hello, Tuan. So his question is, how can I know whether the company culture, right, whether it's a startup or a big company, how do I know whether it's suitable for me or not? Compensation, maybe?
Yeah, at least for startup, this is likely impossible to research, like especially if the company is new, like there's no data about it on the internet. So I think it'll be hard for you to be able to gauge whether it's something that you want to work for. So I think if for startups, I think trying to talk to recruiters, directly. I think that's the easiest route that you can get, or even to stakeholders, because they're probably young and they don't have too much bureaucracy. You can directly talk to CEOs and ask whether it's a company that you want to work for. For big companies, I think there are a lot of data about it, like on other review sites like Indeed, especially on Blind. Not sure if you guys are using it, but yeah, there are a lot of data about big companies in terms of like the company culture.
Yeah. I can add on the area of small companies. I mean, this is where what my company is. So typically for my team members that is looking to join our team, what we do is we had this interview, but it's not really an interview. We actually go out for drinks. If you take alcohol, we go for alcohol. If you don't, we go for coffee. But the idea is we're just chatting up, what's our vision like, and what are our values like, what do we care about in our team, and then what do we care. So at the end of the day, we just give an opportunity for both of us to find out about each other more, to see if our values align and to see if we are a good fit. I am in the opinion that smaller company, they are more willing to spend this time to talk with you, especially if you're going to join the team, because smaller company like us, we have to be very, very careful with our hires, because every headcount in our team plays a big role. So we tend to be able to spend more time with our new hire or potential new hire.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Vin. Tuan, hopefully that helps you out, and please feel free to ask more questions if you have any. Okay, so have I guess how they put this, like a question that seems to be something that's endemic to the vertical itself, but from people outside, right? It's not very common. It's hard to identify exactly what each of these is. So a question to Galu, you know, like what's a data engineer? What's a data analyst? What's a scientist? What's an like what are these? Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, I totally understand that these terms may be confusing to a lot of people. And as a disclaimer, actually, I think the actual job description of these roles can be very different from companies. But I'll try to, my best to describe them because, these roles I think are still evolving and the field is still young, so to say. So yeah, let's start with data engineer. So I would say a data engineer prepares and manages the data that then can be analyzed by data analysts and scientists. So they are the ones who design and build and integrate these various data sources into the data that users can use. And this is actually a very important role because without data engineering, there is no analysis, there is no machine learning, there is no AI whatsoever. So yeah, this is a very important role, I would say. And then we also have data analysts. So they usually gather and organize and interpret data using data analysis tools to come up with meaningful information from the data that can then be further used to make important business decisions. So typically, business stakeholders have a question, right? Like, is this new feature actually effective? And if so, how effective was it? So data analysts will, try to find the answer in the data using statistics to answer discussion and then present that to the business stakeholders. And then the business stakeholders can maybe use this answer to make another decision. Now, we also have data scientists. So I think there is a lot of overlap in terms of the skill set that you need to have between data scientists and analysts. But probably the biggest difference is usually data scientists use that information from the data to predict something. So the output is usually not an analysis, but usually a predictive model. Like let's say a model that can predict whether a picture is actually a food or not, something like that. And then we also have ML engineer. So usually machine learning engineers work with data scientists to make the predictive model that the data scientists have built to be usable by integrating it to the production environment or the rest of the company's platform. Like maybe, for example, just an example, building an API around the model. So it's more engineering heavy, but it's kind of different from regular software programming because when you have a model, you're interacting with a lot of data. And then there are a lot of moving parts there. So you need to make sure that your model and systems work well, even if it has to process a lot of data within such a short time. Now for, which route a person should take. So I think it really depends on each person. If you're leaning towards engineering, so maybe data engineering or ML engineering are suitable for you. If you like a combination of engineering, stats, math, maybe your data analyst or data science may be the roles for you. If you're interested in more of the business aspect, usually data analyst is the role that may suit you better. So yeah, I think it really depends on the interest of each person, I would say.
That makes sense. Thank you so much, Galu. This is super helpful. Now our minds are enlightened. Thank you. I guess there's a follow-up, right? As a startup, is machine learning something that, a startup should take advantage of?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Oops. Is machine learning something that every startup should take advantage of?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of value in machine learning, but I would say before we go there, it's important to first make sure that you have the data that can be used to do machine learning. So it means that you have the data infrastructure first, because machine learning really, really depends on data. So yeah, if you don't have the data, you cannot do machine learning basically. So it's important to get the foundations right first before actually going to do machine learning.
That makes sense. Thank you, Galu. Okay, we have a question from the audience. Very familiar guy. So Wayan's question is, what do you guys think about career progression, especially at the early point of one's career? Like be a CEO own multiple companies, like, or should I stay as an engineer for some time, move to management, slowly climb my way up?
I guess the question is rather general. When we talk about career progressions, are you asking like how should it be and what's the pace like? Or I can't really get too much out of the questions, but I'm not sure if it's entirely relevant. But I just wanted to share a little bit of a story of mine in terms of career. Whichever it is, it leads to where I am today. I'm not sure it's right or wrong, but what happened was that actually I came from a very poor family. So as such, I didn't have the opportunity to complete a tertiary educations. So despite I'm rather good in the area of computing subjects, I tend to be able to teach my lecturer in classes in the subjects. I don't have the opportunity to graduate. So that made me doubt myself as inferior for not having these academic qualifications. That also leads to failing a couple of interviews without degree in my early times. So that time also resulting in one of the questionable decision that I made back then, which I'm not too sure is right or wrong, but actually I moved on to selling credit cards for Citibank when I was young. So I'm not sure what it's. I think the key takeaway I wanted to share today is that in terms of career progressions, there's really many way to a destinations. But the more important part is really not the destinations. I don't know what would happen to me if I persisted back then and get into the subject that I love. I probably would be better off or lesser off. I am not too sure, but I guess there's no single route to the destination, so not sure if this is actually related to the questions, but I hope it shed some light.
Thank you, Vin. That was very insightful. I think someone wants to share as well. Please go ahead. Okay, Andrew was like, should I share? Should I not share?
No, I thought Joshua wanted to share first. Yeah, I mean, like in your in the early points of your career, probably for me, I guess I didn't think about. I mean, probably everyone wants to have progressions on their career, right? But I think the most important thing in the early point of your career is to just gain as much experience as you can through that. And I mean, just like what Finn said, right? Career progression will, I guess, it will be there will be many ways to progress in your career, and we don't know. I mean, every one of us will probably have different ways, but I think the most important thing is to just build, I guess, gain more experience for yourselves, especially if you're still early, right? Just gain as much experience as you can, and I think the progression will be automatic.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, wasn't sure if Joshua, you wanna share? Okay, no, okay, he doesn't want to share. Okay, okay. Then in that case, I guess in light of Wayan's question, right? I think there's also a follow up there. So now we have insights from people who are CEOs, of companies, and then for many of us as well, right? We want to go deep in a particular technology, stay for some time, learn the hoops and loops, maybe contribute a thing or two to the community. And I think Joshua and Galu has been in that field for some time, doing data science, doing mobile development, Flutter. Can you share a bit more about, as let's say I want to go deep first, I want to maybe spend like maybe the next 5 years doing one particular vertical. Is there anything that I should expect as I go deep into Flutter or as I go deep into data science that I should be mindful of?
Okay, I think I can take this one first. So yeah, what I think. So I'm only talking about like getting deep into machine learning in terms of being in the industry, because I think probably if you're talking about academia, it can be a bit different. But for doing machine learning in the industry, I think what one should expect is, well, don't expect to only like master the technical stuff. Because like initially when I got started, I thought I just needed to know how to code and how to use machine learning libraries and know a bit of statistics, and that's it. But it turns out actually there are other things out there that, you know, related to machine learning, especially if you want to make machine learning work in the real world, that are just as important, if not more. Like, for example, like problem solving in general. I think it has been mentioned also previously. In machine learning, like let's say if you want to build a predictive model, like perhaps the technical details like the syntax or the code, you can probably Google. But before you go there, you have to know what you have to look for first, right? And to get there, it's not easy. Like you have to have an initial idea on how you're going to solve this problem. And it's usually not very straightforward. Like it's very rare to have someone come up to me and say that, hey, I need an image classifier that, determines whether this is a cat or a dog. And these are the data that you need, and that's it. So it never works that way. Usually it's way more ambiguous than that. So you have to figure out on your own, and every company's problem is very unique. So you really have to like rely on your problem solving skills and understanding before you go into the code and so on. And I think this is something that you can improve over time as you continue like working on various machine learning projects, be it at work or outside of work, as you get more exposure on various applications by reading papers or attending conferences, because in conferences people usually like talk about the problem they have, how they solve it, what don't work. So like building your own machine learning knowledge repository that you can refer to like every time you have to solve a new problem. So yeah, I think that's it for me.
Well, that's really good. Thank you, Kalu. Josh, do you want to add?
Okay, like at least the things that you would expect in terms of like the front end development. Don't just stay on Flutter. Like at least that's how I see it. Like like technologies come and go. Like there will be easier solutions for. I think this, if you try to phrase it, I think use the right tools on solving the right problem. So I think it all comes down there. Whether, like even if you try to deep dive on Flutter, you won't save the business money if you're using it for the wrong problem. I think going deep dive with Flutter, I think it's good to release an app, learn by doing. Especially if you're just starting out with Flutter, there's no point reading the source code, reading articles without actually applying what you learn. So I think you will really have to invest time on learning and coding, doing some side projects on it for you to be able to gain that experience that you need. In the future, if you want to really deep dive on the front end space in general, I think you really have to learn the competitors of the tools that you're using. So for example, right now you're using Flutter. I think it's also good to learn, for example, React or Angular, for you to be able to have this sense of a different perspective, how other tools or other technologies are solving the problems that you're trying to solve with the business or the company that you're working for. So I think that's how I would approach learning deep dive in terms of the engineering and front end.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's always good to have options and kind of move around and find the best way to solve problems. Thank you, Josh. All right, so I have another question. I think for our bosses, So of course, you started off as an engineer, and then sort of kind of decided that problems are not as important. Let's talk about people problems. Then you start to become a CEO. What was the journey like from being an engineer and now you're a CEO? What was the decision point?
Andrew, you want to take first?
You can go first.
All right. Okay. Sure. No problem. Okay. Well, I suppose I think the major differences as an engineer and also as a CEO is that you now in a managerial role or as a CEO, you really spend a lot of time with people, and you lose a lot of time on coding. And if you really need to, you really have to find the time yourself. There's no time set up for you to work on the code and the like. The mentorship itself sometimes can be really challenging, as you dealing with people is often not straightforward. It's not like you say A and A turns out to be A. It doesn't work that way, and that tends to be very exhausting. On top of that, I think one of the biggest challenges is also the additional considerations on the business end of things. For example, you're now responsible for keeping the business afloat. So all your team members, can continue to be paid, can continue to be employed, and their family can continue to be happy. And also, you are supposed to have sufficient resources to continue to grow your team members, because I believe as a leader of these team members, you are directly in charge of make sure that you are growing them. So you have to be making sure that you have sufficient resources to grow your team members, and all this adds up can be really daunting and stressful. But of course, as we always say, the more you do, or the more stressful, the harder the thing is. Rightfully or supposedly, you should have like equal ratio in terms of reward, risk reward ratio. But although it often is not, but yeah, you probably
Yeah.
get a reward in satisfactions over financial rewards. Yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah, I agree with what Finn said. When you're still focused in your engineering work, right? Like as an engineer, I think it's much easier because you can focus on one stuff. You can learn. You can deep dive into certain things that you like. Right? But especially when I read my WhatsApp group, right, with other Android developers that works in a big companies, and they can learn a lot of stuff. Like, oh yeah, I want to learn that too, but I need to find a time for it. And sometimes it's hard because being a CEO is not just like a glamorous role, right? But it's a hard role, I think, because you need to keep the business afloat, just like what Finn said. Especially if you're smaller companies, right? You want to grow that company, and there's a lot of sacrifices that you need to make to accomplish that. I think, sometimes I miss my engineering job, but yeah, I still do some codings. I do a lot of POCs, like on certain stuff, so I can then I can test it on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Vin and Andrew. All right. I mean, Wayan's question has to have a linchpin, right? Like, who would ask career progression unless they're tan, 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 people want to earn money at the end of the day, like that's what we want, right? We want to get out of the rat race. So any advice? Like, I want to be rich, like, what do I do?
I mean, I wish I had the answer. Well, I'm not too sure if I got the answer, to be honest, but I guess it really goes back to the basics of economy. Pick the most wanted technology in your reachable market, simple as that. Yeah. So if you have if market that you can reach, for example, this enterprise market, go ahead with enterprise technologies. You can make as load of money. And if you can reach more of a startups or small businesses or mobile application system market, well, go ahead with web or mobile application development. It really is, like I say, the basic of economy. I think that's all I can share. I mean, I wish I have more answers to that.
Thank you, Vin. Any questions? Any data science models we can use to predict becoming a unicorn? Okay, I guess nothing.
Just try to do the best you can, right? Like, and then
yeah,
and then the money will come, I guess.
Oh yeah. Whew. All right, Bitcoin. All right. Okay, then let's go to a more serious one. So we have another question right here, and it's a question about over time we've learned lessons along the way, and we've made mistakes, we've learned stuff. Do you have any lessons that you'd like to share that you wish you knew when you were younger?
Well, I'm not that old.
Yeah, 23 years old CEO, how to be you.
Well, I mean, like I shared before, it's not a regret, but I often wonder how things will be if I really make a different decision back then, persisted in things I love doing. So I don't think it's about what I can share, but if I can, I would love to persist to do what I love, because I really believe that if you're doing what you love, you tend to put a lot more into it, and you tend to have better outcomes from the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my answer is kind of related to that. I actually I wish I had been more courageous, I would say, because I feel like there were some things that I didn't do because I was afraid and I didn't believe in myself enough. Like, for example, I actually I grew up believing that I'm very terrible at math and anything that requires logic, basically, which rules out the entire, the entire tech field. I don't know why, but that notion stuck with me, and I spent the first couple of years in college thinking that I'd pursue something else that doesn't have anything to do with coding or math after I graduate. Although, I actually do enjoy it, and if I study hard, I can actually do pretty well in class. And over time, I realized that, well, I may not be naturally good at it. I have to put a lot of work into it, but I can always try to do better. And, it's important to, have this growth mindset. And if I had the courage earlier, I would probably fail most of the time, but I would fail faster, which means that I would also learn faster if I have this growth mindset with me. So yeah, I just feel that now if I find myself at a crossroad, I feel afraid because it's something out of my comfort zone, I would just tell myself to persist and just do it. Whatever happens next is whatever. The thing that matter is for me is that I tried my best.
Yeah, makes sense.
I share the same story with Vin and Galu. For example, I'm not comfortable before, giving talks to public. I'm not comfortable talking with anyone. I'm actually probably an introvert. I think also doing things that is out of my comfort zone is one thing. I think I discovered it when I was already in the industry. There are a lot of what ifs, but I think it's part of the growth. I think at some point I regretted it, not doing things that, for example, building products, trying to create my own company. But there are a lot of things that I regret, but there are also a lot of things that I'm grateful for, because I met good people that has become my mentor and has led me to where I'm at now. So I think it's never too late, to start something that you really want to do. At least that's how I approach it after a few years back in college. Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
For me, I think what I learned is that you just need to, when you're on crossroads, just pick one thing that you want to do instead of trying to, because a lot of times you have many ideas, right? What things you want to do and try to learn a lot of things. But I think just to learn and focus on one thing first and then fail probably is better than try to learn a lot of things and then you don't get anything, right? So it's the thing, just try one thing first and then fail, and then probably then try to do other things.
I also
so that
remember
you'll learn faster.
Yeah. Yeah, I also remember something that I just remember something I've often shared with my team members is that through my experience of all the people I've seen, right, the major differences of a person successful, not I wouldn't say successful or not, but the key distinctive differences of person is what they actually do after the office hour. So were they actually spending their time to grow themselves, or were they just watching K-pop, K-dramas? I mean, not to say those are not good. This is fine, but I often see a lot of people who tend to be a lot more successful. Really, they invested a lot of their time off the office hours into something that's meaningful to them. So it's really what makes you different is what you do after office hours.
Wow, that's a good one. Thank you, Vin. Thanks for sharing. I think also there has been a common theme on the response, which is that, I think I'm not good enough. then you try, then you fail, then you're like, oh, I'm good enough. And it seems to, constantly happen to us. Even like now we are in our profession, then we're like, wow, this guy is so good. I'm not good enough. And we always have that kind of sentiment. Do you have any thoughts about, like how do you work around it? Do you just, like any tips?
I think one of the things that I wanted to share about the imposter syndromes that we often had is that I felt it's a common thing among us, and it is common for good reason, because I think the key takeaway is that the more you know you don't know, right? So that's where the imposter syndromes kicks in. You came to realize, wow, there's so much more I didn't know, because you start to know more things. So this is where it starts coming. I forgot the word for it. There's this effect that shows a graph showing that if when you start to know something, or you don't know a lot of things, you tend to have more confidence in the subject. As you know more, you lose a lot of the confidence, and over a lot of the time that you really know what you are, then you slowly gain back the confidence to be a domain expert. There is a term for it. It's always in my mind. I just happened to lose it today. Let me try to find it.
Is it the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Yes, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Thanks, Julius. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I think so. I guess if anyone's interested to kind of search it, it's this guy right here. Thank you, Vin. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to, kind of chime in? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I
at
guess,
least.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please.
Okay, at least for my end, like even if I'm already a GDA, I still experience this one. Like at some point, like I'm working with a lot of the experts in the industry who already been here for a lot of years now, and personally, my approach for this one is to, like if they're putting this much effort, then try to put as much as effort as they would put into. So I think matching their efforts gives you this kind of like somehow the confidence that if you're putting much effort on this one after, for example, office hours, then you'll be able to at least somehow fight, or at least forget that you are not as good as them, but at least you're doing something good for the community. Yeah, that's how I would approach it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Anyone else before we move to the next one? Okay. Okay, I wasn't sure if Andrew was like, okay, I want to speak, but no. So, need to read the body language. Okay, then let's go to the next one. All right, so Shafiq has a question here. So, you have all these online certifications. Do you think it's worth it? Should we aim for it? Any thoughts?
I think for me, okay, I'll take this one first. I guess the goal is not for the certifications, right? Like, as long as you can gain something from that course, or trying to get the certifications, I think it will be a worthwhile to take that while you're studying in university. But yeah, I mean, the goal shouldn't be just the certifications, right? You don't want to collect like 100 certifications just to have with you while you're interviewing after you graduate from university. But but what you can learn from that, I think, is the most important.
Yeah. From hiring,
just take the one that's useful.
Yeah. I can share a little bit on from hiring perspective. So from hiring perspective, these certifications help us to filter the first round of for interviews. So you see, when we try to hire people, right, we go through the resumes, and these certifications give us a good understanding. Hey, you already have knowledge in this area, and this is what we need. So it helps you to land an interview, but it does not help. It helps you to land a job. So what happened is that with these certifications, we can have you in to talk more about yourself. In my team at least, and also I believe for a lot of companies, is that oftentimes skill set is important, but also attitude is becoming a more and more important element in any hiring. So just to add on to what Andrew says, certification is about if you get the values, if you get the learnings from the certification is good. In the area of landing a job, it helps you to land for an interview, but it will not help you to land for a job.
Also, it really depends on the role that you're planning to get. For example, for cloud, I think like I think it's really important like to get certifications. Well, it gives the confidence to the client or to the company that is hiring. But at least on the front end perspective, I think one of the things that you would probably want to look at is building more projects, building your portfolio. So yeah, again, it depends on the role that you're planning to get into. So yeah, that plays a part.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Josh. All right. So we want to end with one last question. We usually ask this question so that people have more questions, more things to explore, then there's more to come. So can you kind of share, any books, any websites, resources, blogs, things that you would like to recommend our audiences to, follow? Apart from DevSpace and GDG Singapore and the GDGs in Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, like, do you have any resource that you think would be beneficial so that once they go in, that will help them in their career moving forward?
Yeah, I think Joshua have one very good one. I think Joshua and the rest will share something more insightful, more meaningful. But for me, the best resources that has helped me for my entire career in the space has been Stack Overflow. So don't laugh, but yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
We all agree.
But I mean, I'm sure the rest of the audience also is aware of this, so I don't think the recommendation is helpful here. But I saw Joshua have some good one to share, right?
Yeah, like this is just one of it, but I think it really depends on I think I'm answering a lot of it depends, but yeah, like if you try to think of it like, for example, if you're looking for blogs or articles, then the website will be different, right? Like it depends on the role that you're planning to master. But yeah, like Code Labs from Google, also from the official page or official Medium page, publications of these technologies, like for example, Flutter, on Medium, TensorFlow on Medium, like they have a lot of resources for you out there. And yeah, like look for the developer roadmap. That's important as well because it will give you kind of like the perspective and the high level overview what you should take next. So for example, right now we don't have a definite roadmap. There are a lot of subjective roadmaps. So just pick the good one that has been used by a lot of like the developers in your space. I think that will guide you along the way. The developer roadmaps.
Yeah. I just like to add on, if you actually in the web development area, one of the more important resources you probably want to spend a little bit more time on is really the W3C standards and draft sites, where you get a lot of insights into what's coming up and what's probably something that it's worth for you and your team to invest into, because all these draft may not eventually turn into a standard. So keep a close eyes on them. Will help you to safeguard your investment.
Yeah, I think for Android, just like what Joshua said, you can also go to Code Lab on Google websites, or you can also find some open source app, right? Like in GitHub, and if you want to learn other people's coding style and how they do things, probably that's a good way to learn. And I guess it depends on where you live. Like in Indonesia, you have like resources like decoding. I think you can go there too to take courses. Like I think they offer a lot of free classes to learn more about Android and other subjects too. I think ML and other stuff. So yeah, I think a lot of resources nowadays, right? Compared to where I was. 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
I started to learn
When we
about
first
the web
started.
using books.
Yeah, we just bought books.
Yeah. HTML.
Yeah, so for machine learning, yeah, it depends. I think it really depends on your learning style as well, right? Because usually for machine learning, a lot of people usually recommend online courses, but honestly, I'm not really an online course kind of person. So it's different for everyone. From my side, if I want to learn something, I usually have to have the motivation first. Like it usually comes to the question, right? Like, why should I learn this and why should I care? What's the use case? And one of the books that kind of answered those questions for me for related to machine learning is a book titled Data Science for Business. So it's not very theoretical. It's more on the applied side, but it gives me like a lot of motivating examples that eventually pushed me forward to learn more about data and machine learning in general. Other books or websites, it's very different. It's very difficult actually to recommend because things change so fast, and machine learning is also a very broad field. So I don't have any particular resources to recommend in particular, but my main advice is to, yeah, like many others have mentioned, to build your own projects and learn as you go. And I think on the way you will figure out like what books you will need to read, what articles you will need to read, papers, GitHub repos. I personally learn a lot from reading other people's code as well. And it can be different from project to project, right? So that's why it's difficult to answer because there's no one answer that covers all machine learning. It's just a very broad field that depends on your project or use case.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Thank you. And I suppose, as always, lead code, cracking the coding interview. If you want to go to Google, and be like Shad. And speaking of Shad, Shad, hello. So good to see you again. And thank you so much for all our Google developer experts who, has been very gracious with their time, sharing their knowledge.
Indeed, yeah, it's a really fun discussion, just learning from everyone here. Especially your own experiences and going through your career as well. I think that's something that we all can just get a little bit grasp of your experiences. I know we have some couple of questions earlier that I surely would highlight. And I think the journey that you all have been to becoming a GDE, and understanding your capabilities to support and influence others as well. And it's already inspiring, and you're inspiring a lot of these young folks, especially in our communities, to strive and also figure things out on their own. And I think that's what the most important goal at the end. Anyway, I guess I already said. Probably a last thing from everyone. Anything last words that you can share for the students, viewing, watching this, or will be watching this, of course, with the time zone, that's also a figure, a thing that, the 3 p.m. could be a 3 p.m. later for some of our folks in India, Pakistan area as well. We can probably kickstart with alphabetical order. Andrew, do you want to say anything, last words, and then, finish everyone, and finally let Julius close as well. All right.
I think I want to change my name now. So last word. So I guess for all the students out there, just keep learning. Keep learning what you want to, what you like, right? I think that's the first thing that will motivate you more, and just try to do the best in what you do. I think that's my take. My last word.
Cool. All right, let's have Galu.
Yeah, actually, it's gonna be kind of similar. Just try your best and put your best effort, and never stop learning. And learning doesn't only have to be from books, or you can also like learn from various resources on the internet, and also like the people around you. That's also important. So yeah, I think that's all from me.
Awesome. Thanks, Galu. Josh?
Yeah, I think just continue learning by doing. At the same time, like try not just to build something that no one's ever going to use, like try to publish, like for example, if you're building an app or a website, try to publish it and try to add it as part of your portfolio and showcase it. So as long as you're bringing value, to the community, I think it's really a good thing to, like good thing to do while using to use your free time, basically. So yeah, learning by doing and try to bring value to the community.
Like that. Cool. Thanks, Josh. Boss, Sabine?
Come on. So I have this actually written on my notes is that I just want to say imposter syndrome is real. It has taken down a lot of people, and I think believing in yourself is really important drive to be successful. That also leads to another thing, which is when I was younger, I'm imposter syndrome, so I'm quite ashamed to be asking for help, asking for a mentor. So I think you should really open up and look for mentor, because mentor is really the fastest way you can learn. If you have someone that's willing to mentor you, buy them a coffee, be nice to them. Some of them prefer beer. Yeah.
Awesome. I like that. Yeah, totally. Julius?
Yeah, I think today the conversation was really good. Like especially when our Google developer experts always highlighted trade-offs, which is something that we don't always think about, right? You go online, you read blogs, you read books, and here are like 7 steps to become a successful engineer, 10 steps to become a successful data scientist. Like you have all those things, whereby after reading it for a couple of times, you start thinking, oh yeah, maybe I just have to follow. Then we start to realize that, oh, actually, things are not just black and white; they're gray all the time, And then you just have to think about what's my north star and how do I get there. And then you have all those various perspectives between small companies, big companies, what are the benefits, drawbacks, and all the technologies that they're working on. We have Josh, for example, talking about, oh, like I'm a Flutter Google developer expert, but you also have to think about, like beyond Flutter, what are the other things that you have to think of, so that you can future proof your career. You have people like Andrew and Vin, for example, who started as an engineer, moved towards the CEO position, wanting to solve other problems. And you have Galu thinking about, now I'm a data scientist at Gojek, trying to figure things out for a big company, trying to come up with proper models to do predictive analysis on how things might look like. And there's a wealth of information that's out there. And especially, I like what Vin said just now, which is the imposter syndrome. It's There's a recent survey that was published whereby in Singapore, 3 out of 4 people actually had imposter syndrome, and that's something that all of us, like in the next generation, and things that would become more and more common as we become exposed to more information, thinking, projecting ourselves as we look at other people, other blogs, other sources of information. So it's really good to learn that, we are not alone. We all have imposter syndrome, or at least most of us
Yeah.
have. And it's just part of the journey, part of, growing up, part of, becoming more and more proficient in areas that we are interested in. And it's so good to talk to you all once again. And thank you, Shad, for the opportunity to have this, kind of conversation with our Google developer experts. It's always good to hear their perspective and learn from them.
Totally. I love that. Thank you for highlighting that, Julius. I think again we learned so much from the each personal experiences of our GDEs here, and I think one of the greatest highlight is how can you students watching this can you somehow find those key highlights of their experiences, and find your own path, figure things out on your own, and really create your own future out of this as well. And of course, to highlight just a last point on on this panel session. So again, I think Bean mentioned about mentors. I think what it's I was just to share, I was actually talking to high school students earlier who have invited me to participate and talk and give a talk to their event this coming April. And I was really I was really shocked to see, as young as they are, they have this kind of interest already to get themselves to understand how it's like to be in the industry, and really looking at that kind of future that they will be doing and hoping to do as well in their future as well. And And while I'm trying to process it, one thing that I really got inspired and motivated to join and really participate in this event is, there's this really factor where when people only ask, to for certain things, and also try to be intentional about what they really want to achieve, especially learning and developing their skills, learning from other people, and finding upperclassmen, or people in the industry already who have these sets of experiences and that they can apply to themselves, so that those probably things that you have experienced, people can at least learn better and also apply it on the things that they're also experiencing, and that they can avoid some mistakes that probably could have been a mistake for them as well. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't make mistake, because again, failures are the best way for you to really learn and experience. But if you have mentors and people who have support you, provide you, it's like, imagine you have a lifespan of 100 years worth of experience added to your own as well, because you gathered it from them. And that's something that I personally believe in as well, and I think some of our GDEs also agree with me here. Cool. All right. But anyway, just to close this, probably just wanted to ask, everyone here, do you guys have a mentor, and what is the thing that you learned so much from a mentor? We can probably start with Vin.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I came to realize of realization of the importance of a mentor, having seen some of my peers in the industry or in startups to have gained so much from that successfully. But it's a bit. I guess it also takes a bit of luck, and I'm unfortunately have not had really came across anyone, or when I was younger I was a bit ashamed to open up and to ask for mentorship. So it's the kind of mistake I hope the audience here can pick up and do not have to repeat that.
Yeah. Josh, you're muted, Josh.
Yeah, at least for me, like, if you're looking for mentors, I think if you're working in a team, the immediate mentors that you can consider are your team leads or managers. Just have to be, as Shad mentioned, try to be intentional. What are you trying to hope, to get from them? What you're trying to learn from their experience? So I think, because if you haven't opened up, like, you want them to be your mentor, I think that's kind of like a difficult like thing to happen, because like, you really have to ask them, you really have to ask the right questions as well on what you want to learn from them. So I think what my mentors that I consider are the team leads, the immediate managers that I've had from previous companies, and right now I'm working with closely with the CEOs on the startup. So yeah, the stakeholders. So really, yeah, you just have to ask ask the right questions to them, and you have to find that person within your team or within your company.
Awesome. Galu?
Yeah, so for me, I don't have mentors as in like formal mentors, but yeah, echoing what Joshua said, I have a lot of people around me that I consider as mentors, because they have been like super helpful to me. And yeah, like if I have questions, they would do their best to help. And I think what's really important is that they also like give me a chance to do work that I didn't even believe I'm capable of. So I really appreciate that. And I think, yeah, like what's been said before, it's also important for us on our side to open up and like ask questions and be clear about what is our goal, so that they can help us to get there. So yeah.
Love that. Cool. Andrew?
Okay, so I guess yeah, I have a lot of mentors. Like I guess it's my partners, even sometimes my team members can be mentored too, right? Because if we are open to learn new things, we can open up to them. We will learn a lot stuff from them. So I think mentor can be anyone that you can learn from, right? So I think it's best to find that opportunity and just open up with people. even just to other community members. Probably if you are in a community like in DSC, right, you can also mentor each other, right? But yeah, you just need to find one. Mentors is easy to find. You just need to open up to them.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Julius, do you want a last one?
Yeah.
Mentors. I think my answer is very similar to Andrew. Like, there's this. I suppose many of you watch Shark Tank, right? And then there's this Mr. Wonderful guy, Kevin O'Leary, and he was asked once, whereby what's the secret sauce of success? And interestingly, he said that it's fear in perpetuity. Like, so long as you feel fear, then you will try your best to become better version of yourself. So in my case, I don't have a specific mentor, although I do have. I consider myself fortunate to have a lot of mini mentors, if I can put it away. Very similar as what Andrew has mentioned. So long as you wear a student's hat, you can have mentors all over. So let's say, for example, just now I've been talking to people like Galu, people like Vin, Josh, Shad, Andrew, kind of learning from all of you, your experiences, like how you became CEOs, how you go deep into Flutter and data science. So it's good because for me, it also keeps me from, trying to, as Vin says, like, wow, the expert, but not really an expert, the kind of Danny Kruger, the kind of, it kind of protects me against that as well. But more importantly, it protects my team from me doing that. Because then, if now they're looking at, people like us who, I guess to some degree, in positions of leadership, and not being able to actually perform to the standards worthy of that title, then then things fall apart. So I'm quite grateful that to opportunities like this that can learn from you all. Likewise from books as well. I do like reading books because from books I can, as Shad mentioned, right, like these are years and years of experience, condensed into single sources, which you can digest. So those are quite helpful for me as well. So some books that maybe if I can recommend some, right, like that kind of helped me as well. There's this book entitled The $1 Trillion Coach, which is a book by Eric Schmidt, CEO of Google, and Jonathan Rosenberg, CPO of Google. And the whole idea is that they have a mentor, which is not popular. No, but most people don't even know who he is. But he was the one who kept Jeff Bezos from being fired from Amazon. He was the one who kept Steve Jobs in Apple, where he's supposed to be in. He kept Eric Schmidt as the CEO of Google. He helped Susan Wojcicki in running YouTube. Marisa Mayer, you probably know, CEO of Yahoo, formerly one of the product managers at YouTube. He was the one who made Silicon Valley the way it is, and he's not known. But the idea is he was, as Eric Schmidt noted, he was before his time. So many of the scientific research right now on how you become a good leader, how do you make people more productive in your company, are actually performed by this guy named Bill Campbell, the $1 Trillion Coach. And in reading that book, it's a very easy read. It's not a scientific book, so you can actually learn from his experience. So in looking at books, talking to people, learning from everyone, always wearing a student hat, I think that's how I learn from everyone. Hopefully that helps. Back to you, Shad.
Awesome. That's very awesome. And yeah, I think that's a very great takeaway book, must read, $1 Trillion Coach. Bill Campbell, Eric Schmidt, Jonathan Rosenberg, and Alan Eagle. That's very interesting book. All right, cool. Again, panel speakers, thank you so much for supporting this event, and we're super grateful for you to help us and share your experiences with the students watching this video. And of course, Julius, thank you for your time to host and moderate the panel earlier. We're super happy that you guys join us. So I'll remove you for a bit for our our session, our next session. All right, cool. Thank you so much, everyone. And of course, just to close our event this afternoon, I just want to share some of the announcement we have on DSE. Solution Challenge is one of the major program and competition that Google developer student clubs organize every year, and it is now open for submission. It's actually almost the end of submission, which is on end of March 31st. We are really looking, we're really excited about this competition, as we are working together with United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and we want to see more projects that will be helping on solving some of these SDGs, and really supporting the global initiatives to make the world a better and sustainable place for everyone as well. And to learn more about Solution Challenge, please let's watch this short video.
Let's check out the solution challenge.
Let's do this.
Okay, I'll present my screen.
Welcome to the Google Developer Student Club's 2021 Solution Challenge. The mission of this challenge is to use Google technology to solve for one of the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, aiming to end poverty, ensure prosperity, and protect the planet. Win cool prizes, mentorship from Google, and swag. Get help along the way from Google at training events, code labs, and hackathons. Submit your solution by March 31st, 2021. Register today. We can't wait to see what you build.
Let's get started.
Okay, cool. So, of course, in order for you to learn more about this event, feel free to visit this website, Google/Solution Challenge, to learn more about it. Of course, for all those who are interested to participate in Google Summer of Code, which is a program focused on introducing students to open source software development. And one of the coolest things about this is you will be paired with a mentor, and of course a participating organization. It could be any organization around the world that you get to be exposed in to work on some open source project. And one of the best thing as well here is that you are provided with an allowance, with a stipend that that you go through for the summer. So basically the summer program that Google has as well. We've seen a lot of application coming from Asia Pacific as well in the previous years, and we want to see more of that this year. So the application, remember, is almost closing, almost opening soon on March 30. But prior to that, please start researching about this organization, some projects that you have in mind, and just learn more by visiting this website, summerofcode.withgoogle.com. Next one is Generation Google Scholarship. This is one of the most interesting one. This is a scholarship for all women in computer science. Especially this month is Women's Month, and we want to support more women in technology. And of course, in order to share more of the costs to everyone, if you're a year 1 and a year 2 undergraduate students who are in the fields of computing and technology, you are very welcome to apply for this program. The application is almost closing, so please go visit this website, check out the recommendation, check out the requirements, and learn more and apply it right away, because the time is running out already. Cool. And of course, we are giving away 1 month free Quick Clubs access to everyone who will be submitting this feedback form. So it's very easy. Just type in your feedback, some of the things that you would like to share about this, this event today. And right after you submit the feedback form, you'll receive an access link to the Quick Labs, where you can, get the free 1 month access right away. And of course, thank you so much for joining our event. We'll have surely a lot more events in the future to support our developer student clubs programs as well. And speaking of Google developer student programs, this is basically a university-based community. And if you're a student coming from a non-DSC or a university that doesn't have a DSC, this is really one of the most interesting part, because we are now opening up this coming April 1st the Google Developer Student Club's program application for new leads around the world, and we're very, very excited to to have more universities having their own developer student clubs. And of course, if you are interested to be a developer student club lead, you should check out this website, bookmark it, and check it again on April 1st, where you can submit your application on the countries where you are at right now. There are several countries that aren't, that we will not be, that this program will not be available. So, just please check through before you apply from which country you are. Unfortunately, there are still limitations to some countries where this program can be, but surely, and of course, something that we really hope so to open up to more countries, especially in Southeast Asia or, in Asia Pacific in particular. And of course, thank you so much for joining Skills Level Up. We're super happy to have seen an amazing results and amazing, viewership for the past few days, few weeks, I would say, and all the weekends of March. We're super happy that you participate and join us, on this journey to Skills Level Up. And once again, I'm Shad De La Cruz, and I'm one of the community managers at Google, handling developer student clubs across Southeast Asia. I would like to say thank you, and I hope you enjoyed Skills Level Up program this 2021.